Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a very poignant, heartbreaking question that we got in from a viewer. And that is, how do you protect children? How do you protect a child who is on visitation or might be living part-time or have influence or contact with a narcissist, with a malignant covert narcissist, someone who is very hurtful and makes them feel unsafe. And they feel that based on this person's behavior, that this child is being very impressionable to some very toxic influences. So I'm going to focus in on that topic, and as well as tools as how to handle that, how to give the children and arm them with information without telling them outright, you know, your father is a narcissist. Your father has a personality disorder. You don't want to muddy the waters. You don't want to contaminate their thinking. You don't want them to focus on that problem. You want to arm them with the solution. So number one, of course, you must understand that there is boundary violation when you're talking about impressionable children. Children are impressionable. That means they're very susceptible and vulnerable and open to authority figures. And there's a natural inherentness to wanting to appease an authority figure. In other words, do what they say. Follow what their command is. Allowing them to control, knowing that they know best as the adult in the situation. So there's a natural inclination for a child to want to adhere to authority or look up to authority. But if this authority figure is causing a negative influence, causing them to feel perhaps controlled, or filling them with contaminating thoughts and corrupting their view of other people in the world, or using them for selfish reasons and self-absorbed reasons, then you have to educate the child and how to be in touch and cognizant and aware of their own feelings. And if they are afraid, if they're fearful, the number one antidote is to arm them with a discussion of courage and that of bravery. And having courage is one of the best character educations that you can give a child, to have bravery, to have courage. That means to take positive steps and be able to focus even in the presence of danger or of someone who is intimidating, someone who might be a bully, or someone who might be seeking to take advantage of them for needs that are self-serving and not in that child's best interests. So number one is that of education of the word and the experience itself. Discussing what courage is, what bravery is, giving examples of who is courageous, who is brave. For example, if this viewer, I believe they're in another country, but for example, you might have a warrior, someone who is a Marine, someone who is armed and trained specifically to have courage and bravery on a daily basis. In other words, someone who might be, part of the armed forces or working underwater, where they might have to make split-second decisions on a moment-by-moment basis and untangle a cord while they're underwater. They need to be able to have that razor-sharp focus. They need to be able to know what their end goal is while they're even faced with this pressure. So give kids examples of bravery. Show them what courage is, and show them how admirable it is, and that they themselves are able to have this courage and bravery and to retain a sense of safety within themselves. How did a shipwrecked individual get to safety? How did a person who is in the face of like a firefighter, how do they focus on safety? How does someone who is rock climbing, how do they focus on getting a strong foothold, a good arm, handhold, and be able to rock climb? I mean, that is courage and bravery along with exhilaration. And also give them a sense of awareness of their feelings, and then give them very short statements that they can make in the presence of this apparent danger. And, and the fact that I have feelings. I like to feel safe. I want to feel safe. I can say no. I know how to protect myself by stating I have feelings and I want and I am. And give them solutions that they can then arm themselves with in the face of perhaps an individual who they feel unsafe around. Give them something which represents safety. Give them an image as well as an item which can trigger safety for them. They might have, a key fob. They might have the picture of someone or a picture of some place where they feel very at home. A picture of a teddy bear. A picture of a hero. A sports hero, someone who they feel and identify and relate with. That's why I say it's very important to have a role model. Someone who you can look up to, someone who has actually made the leap, someone who has actually been able to transcend. A lot of people will have a religious figure. They'll say, who's your favorite superhero? It can be real or imaginary, Spider-Man, Superman, Shazam. But, there are real life heroes. You might say, the genius of a religious figure, the Pope, some of the wonderful artists, Michelangelo, Beethoven, in those different areas, the Martha Graham, the geniuses in all the different walks of life, the great architects, the great designers, the great scientists, Albert Einstein. These are people who demonstrated intellectual as well as emotional courage, where faced in uncertainty, they were able to stay focused on the solution. And children often can tap into that inherent genius within them to bring about their own empowerment. And that is really the goal. Is the best goal, the best gift you can give a child is that of autonomy, industry, and self-reliance. To be able to transcend that human development goal, which they're faced with in those very early years. And I'm not sure how old the children are, but one of the the life stages is autonomy versus dependence. So if you teach dependence, they are forever going to be taught dependence, and they're going to feel a need to be dependent on others. They might become followers and not become little leaders within themselves. If they're taught integrity and industry, which means the ability to produce and work and not feel ashamed, not feel guilty for being industrious or being productive, then that is the greatest gift you can give them, is that independence. And so teach children, in the little ways that they are independent, in the school projects that they have, filling their room with pictures of their accomplishments, whether it's in sports or academics or their friendships or things in the neighborhood. And then furthermore, schedule things where they can then, go and be that industrious, autonomous person. Do they have a lemonade stand? Do they have a book club? Do they have a sports group? Go ahead and fill their schedule and have them see beyond that sort of fear-inducing situation where they're with this adult who might be narcissistic, who might not make them feel very comfortable because they feel like they're not exemplifying empathy, and the child does not feel related to. Oftentimes that is the presence of fear, is that the child does not feel related to or attended to. The parent is using them as narcissistic supply. They might be completely overlooking and neglecting of their emotional needs, male and female both, for guidance, for attention, for getting, on their level, and then, able to bring them up, and speak deep concepts with them. In other words, real concepts where the child can relate and learn these qualities, these abstract qualities. And so oftentimes the children will feel very ashamed about their own independence, autonomy, and growth when they're around the presence of a narcissist, because it contradicts the narcissistic supply with which they're trying to groom them with. In other words, the covert narcissist in particular will not attend to the children. I mean, it's as if they almost feel invisible. They will act as if they have no needs. Because they're coming from a state of non-empathy, then they're basically acting as if they don't have any needs. And the adult is just basically whizzing by them and not getting it, not getting what they need, not showing them how to bake or how to use two hands to do a task, or how to get good lighting when they're reading, or letting them have peace and quiet when they need to focus. Children can be surrounded and triggered into fear because the adults are acting out of narcissistic, self-serving needs. Yelling at the child, having the child do inappropriate behaviors, taking care of housekeeping or things when they should be studying, worrying about what the parent needs, helping to cook, helping to bring in the groceries, hearing the parents' squabbles, giving a parent a foot rub, brushing their hair, giving their parents a back rub. These are very age inappropriate activities, which are, again, parenting the parent rather than the other way around. The parent is, the parent is then living not only to have them satisfy their needs, but then the narcissist oftentimes sees children as a reflection of them versus having their own life purpose. And so they're not entitled to a life purpose. They're not entitled to their emotions. They're not entitled to have their opinion. They are squashed for that. They are extinguished for that. They're made to feel guilty, wrong, through a number of sundry ways, dirty looks, shouting them down, attending to the golden child. I know that there's a lot of issues like that where there's a golden child who is more attended to than, one of the other children. And then there's a divisiveness. Divisiveness is one of the worst things you can do in a family because you're pitting children, against each other. This one is this one is that, and then you two are so different, and using it as a wrench between them, causing a brokenness in the family, and as if that child, needs to be fixed. And so it's very, it can be very hurtful to a child. So you need to kind of explain that, that there are people and educate them, much like we do on this channel, is it to educate them that there are people sometimes who will try to push you around and who will try to seem like they're better than you. And you can use that as a very important education tool because the children will need to be armed with this information nowadays more than ever, that there are going to be people who sometimes push their weight around, push their size around, push their voice around, and you can have them relate and identify this in their own child classrooms. So the best way to deal with it is for you to focus and know that you are important and to pay attention and make sure you have a little checklist next to your desk. Are you paying attention to what you need to do? Are you able to focus? Are you able to get your good grades? And so teach them the concept of focus, but have them carry something physically and refer to something every time that they start to feel that violation. Whether it's a little keychain or a picture, something they can keep in their little, like a little wallet, a little purse, that they can then look to when they feel that way, so they can develop that, call forth that sense of safety. And I'm not sure particular what this narcissist is doing, but the child needs to be able to call forth that feeling of a release of the fear. So they need to, feel that they can filter out perhaps the negative criticism, because oftentimes that is the tool of the narcissist, is that of toxic criticism and toxic shaming, where they cause the child to feel uncomfortable, that they're not good enough, that they want to hang their head down. So you can teach them posture, teaching them how to keep upright and then kind of keep neutral. learn to, calm down, and then stamp their feet, and then keep a little timer next to them where they can then, keep a little bit of timer where they are able, maybe they feel afraid for only 30 seconds, and then click off the timer so that they can then feel safe again, and learn how to make statements to this adult so that they can protect themselves. Even though they need an adult, they need guidance, just have the child, state, I have direction, I have guidance, I know what I'm doing. Give that child some verbiage so they can feel comfortable backing themselves up, and how to kind of resist these negative quips. And I'm not sure exactly what is going on there. If you want to comment with some more information, please feel free, because I definitely want to assist you in arming the children of this world who are faced with narcissistic parenting. It's really one of my passions, is to help prevent narcissistic shaming of our younger generations. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.